Today we're going to do a web series review of Retail Rejects. This is a series that's been out for a few years. It is a TV or cinema style comedy series about the sales employees at a high-end retail store. So it's kind of similar to The Office in the way it is structured, where there is kind of an incompetent boss and then the long-suffering employees. So some things that I liked about this web series were, obviously I liked the concept. It's a really great premise for comedy, workplace situations, especially if you're someone who has worked in retail or at a sort of entry-level job. You know that there's all kinds of really interesting things that happen. People can be really ridiculous. You sort of see the underbelly of humanity. So I thought that the premise was really good for a comedy style web series. Another thing that I really liked was the diversity of these web series. A lot of web series that I watch are mostly, if not all, entirely cast with white actors. So it was really nice to see a web series where that wasn't the case, and I largely chalk that up to people of color were instrumental in every part of the process. And I really think that as a community, the web series community needs to put more attention and more focus on the projects of people of color, LGBTQ plus people, and people with disabilities. I've seen some really amazing work when I've started looking in those circles and looking outside of what is traditionally represented. I really liked that the series really had a variety of characters, that they all had a very similar way of reacting to the shenanigans at the store, but they all still had their own personalities. I really liked the funny dialogue. It was very sharp, quick-witted, again, very in tune with things like Parks and Rec and The Office and Fresh Off the Boat. We have characters that are clashing in ways that are really funny based on their different personalities and their different ways of dealing with all of the shenanigans with staffing the store. I also really enjoyed how every episode had a good amount of plot or characterization. You got to see how characters were kind of getting to that climactic point of not being able to deal with this anymore, how relationships were being formed. The two main characters start off with kind of a spiky, prickly way of dealing with each other, and then over time become closer. So we have Ella, who's kind of the new employee, the new girl, and Charlie, who's one of the more seasoned employees. And Charlie has a very sarcastic, bitter personality, whereas Ella is very type A and very by the book, follows the rules. So it was nice to see their friendship and their more romantic way of connecting with each other kind of growing. I think that it was nice to see everybody slowly get more and more fed up. We got to see kind of the difference between a normal crazy day and things kind of leveling up to a point where it's no longer acceptable. I also really liked that of the characters, at least four are shown to be queer in some way. So I thought that that was really nice too. A lot of times when you watch web series, you might get one or two queer characters who end up in a relationship together. So it was nice to have a variety of queer relationships, that it wasn't just, oh, we've checked the box, there's one gay couple, and we're good. Some things that I thought could have been done better in this web series. At the time that I watched it, there were some audio issues, especially when switching between one shot to another shot. That would just be in terms of volume or background, like crackling noises and things like that. Some scenes I felt also could have used more shot variety. So there was a lot of shots where you have two characters, usually from like the waist up or kind of hip area up, talking to each other. There was a lot of medium shots from one angle, so I felt that because this was a TV style comedy series and it wasn't necessarily being formed in a mockumentary style, there could have been a lot more variety. And although that does depend on time, how much time you have to film, what type of equipment you're using, so it's not something that I would say causes a detriment to the series. It's just something that maybe in the future with other projects they might want to consider getting more shot variety and really utilizing the format. Some of the editing was also kind of glitchy. It's my favorite part of the creative process, so that might have been something that was very visible to me that might not have been as visible to somebody else. Some of the glitchy editing kind of took me out of the story a little bit. I would watch this series if you really like comedy web series. A lot of series that are out now are very dramatic, focusing on supernatural or mystery themes. We see a lot that's kind of a zany young adult series. So if you're really into comedy series, then this might be a really good one for you to watch. Also, if you're really interested in series that are set in a very specific location, the majority of the series takes place in the store, whether that's in the manager's office or on the floor or in the stockroom in the back, then I would definitely consider this series. If you really like comedy series, this is a good one to try, especially if you have worked in retail. You might find some of these things to be very relatable, or if you've just done any type of entry-level job working with customers. There's a really funny scene where it talks about when the customer asks if you have anything hiding in the back, that I know a lot of people get really sick of hearing that response. And if you like original series as opposed to adaptations, this is a really good series for that. A lot of the web series I watch are literary adaptations, but I have been adding more original series into my list and trying to take note of those because I think that it is really cool to see all the creative ways that people can break out of having a very formulaic way of going about a story. You don't know what's going to happen at the end. The plot points come as more of a surprise, so original series can definitely be more fun for some people than watching a literary-based web series. I would skip the series if you prefer more college level or high school set web series. Like I said, this series takes place within a high-end department store, so we don't really get to see anybody's life outside of that. It's definitely not set in a college or high school, and those come with their own tropes and their own stereotypical plot lines. If you're more interested in drama or supernatural series, obviously this is very realistic. There's no magic, there's no supernatural themes at all, so if that's something you're looking for, there's other web series that you could try. And if you prefer something that's more escapism rather than realism, this series takes a really honest look at working in retail, the shenanigans that people have to deal with every day when you're working with individuals who might not see you as human so much as you're standing in the way of them buying this thing that they want. And there's definitely the mistreatment that managers can put onto their entry-level staff is definitely explored. So if you're looking for something that's more escapism, then this might not be the web series for you. As usual, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. I have the link to the web series in the description box. If you are watching a web series, creating a web series, and you would like me to take a look, then you can add it in the comments or recommend it to me through a private message. I will add it to my list. I can't promise that I watch everything super quickly. I do have a full-time job and other things that take up a lot of my time, but I want to watch as much as I can, and I always love engaging with new content. So have a good day.